You know how we all have a mate that has a bit of a gambling problem, and when you ask them, how much did you lose on the pokies, they will respond with, oh mate, I won $50. And then you have to inquire, all right, you won 50, how much did you put in? And they invariably respond, 300. So you put in 300 and you got 50 back. Yeah, I won $50, mate. I swear we all know someone who claims they know how to always win at the pokies. But do you actually know how to truly always win at the pokies? Well, today I'm going to teach you. It's actually pretty simple. There are two ways. Method 1, own the poker machines. And method 2, get embroiled in organised crime, make millions in dirty cash selling drugs, and then use the poker machines to clean that dirty money. I mean, maybe you're not technically always winning on the pokies, but you're using the pokies to always win. It's probably one of the most popular methods of cleaning money in Australia, maybe more so than owning a strip club, which might explain why our gritty TV dramas never seem to match the gravitas of our American contemporaries. Yo, Don, I'll meet you at Bankstown Sport. I'm having a punt. Wink. Yeah, bring me back one of them chicken palmies. It's legit that easy to launder money in Australia. Later in the video, I'll even give you a real-life demonstration of how to clean money through pokies, so stick around for that. But this should really have gotten you thinking. If it's that easy for organised crime to clean money in Australia, New South Wales specifically, why isn't anyone doing anything about it? Well, many have tried, even Liberal MPs have tried. Victor Dominello attempted to introduce a cashless gambling card, which, you know, is a pretty common sense approach and would all but stop laundering in local clubs. But in return for this very mild proposal, he faced a relentless campaign from Clubs New South Wales, leading him to eventually lose the gambling portfolio last December. So if Clubs New South Wales can coup a Liberal minister, what luck does an average person have if they go against them? You may recall my video last year on whistleblower Troy STOLZ. Troy used to work for Clubs New South Wales as an anti-money laundering compliance officer, so it was his job to monitor the rates of compliance in clubs with anti-money laundering laws, and spoiler alert, there's virtually no compliance at all. Troy eventually got so disillusioned with the reluctance of Clubs New South Wales to tackle its money laundering problem that he leaked an internal document to independent king, Andrew Wilkie. The document came from Clubs New South Wales themselves, and it detailed the fact that up to 95% of Clubs New South Wales members were failing to comply with anti-money laundering laws. In retaliation, Clubs New South Wales launched a case against Troy in the federal court. To say that this case has been taxing on Troy and his family would be an understatement. One of the more bizarre aspects of this case is that Clubs New South Wales effectively got the courts to chuck a gag order on Troy, meaning he couldn't talk about this ordeal. So for months, Troy has been forced into silence as Clubs New South Wales has exhausted as many legal avenues as possible to grind him down. Yet today, due to an extraordinarily tragic set of circumstances, Troy is breaking his gag order and has agreed to speak to us. My producer Christo sat down with Troy to hear his story, and after so many years in the industry, what he has to say is quite honestly astounding. This is a story about what happens if you try to take on the pokies lobby.
So Troy, tell us where we are today.
Today, I'm being interviewed in a villa at the Mater Hospital in Newcastle, where I'm waiting for radiation treatment. So this will be my home for the next week while I undergo this particular block of radiation.
And this is for cancer that you've developed?
For cancer that I've developed. I'm not sure how long I've had the cancer, but it's certainly, you know, within the last 12 months, 6 months possibly. That's just a bit of a guess. But it has increased over the last few weeks from 3 tumours to 5. So it is spreading. So yeah, I need to get a crack on with the radiation and the chemo, and also fit in a couple of hearings with Clubs New South Wales around my treatment. Hopefully the Mater's flexible with the treatment so I can make sure I'm in court to face Clubs New South Wales.
To understand Troy's full story, you can't just start at the court case or the cancer he subsequently developed. You have to understand more about the figurative cancer that infests Clubs New South Wales. The cancer that it was his job to stamp out, money laundering through pokies in New South Wales.
Did you see many instances of of behaviour that you'd categorise as looking like money laundering?
Oh, absolutely. You'd see when I do an audit of a club, you'd see around the roulette machines, groups of individuals playing multiple roulette table machines. You would see individuals playing 2 machines at one time, maximum bet. You'd see a lot of money in and out of the machines, and a lot of rubber bands on the floor. So that was always interesting. The most clubs wouldn't need to buy rubber bands. If the cleaners walked around the end of the shift and did a bit of a sweep on the floor, there was enough to assist a large banking operation. So that was some of the issues. And the other thing, if you spend a bit of time in a club, how much money does the average person take in their wallet or on their person, to these venues where you've got people playing machines for hours and hours upon end and not going to an ATM.
Was there a reluctance by Clubs New South Wales to, get to the bottom of I guess, these problem gamblers? Yeah,
look, once again, it was the rhetoric that Clubs New South Wales as an organisation was already doing enough for the industry, and we hear about the club grant scheme, which in my view is no different to the, we saw the Liberal Party car parks and different routes that the last federal Liberal government rolled out as sweeteners election time. So look, there's a lot of hand picking and the same old suspects, benefiting out of grants when there's a lot of organisations that want to hand out for help. So yeah, the process was an interesting one, particularly around having the majority of these schemes and programs run by Clubs New South Wales. It's really like letting the seagull into the fish and chip shop. So, in my view, there hasn't been enough oversight by regulators, state and federal, and Clubs New South Wales has grown into an untouchable beast as it is today.
Obviously, there were massive issues at Clubs New South Wales that weighed on the conscience of Troy. In particular, Troy took issue with Barrington's, a company that supposedly provides anti-money laundering compliance training, having a strangely cosy relationship with Clubs New South Wales. Eventually, the lack of action on the part of clubs to deal with their money laundering issues became too much, so Troy blew the whistle.
So what did you blow the whistle on that led Clubs New South Wales to retaliate?
In 2019, the relationship was very, very bad with my manager. I had formed the view that Jim Terry was trying to get rid of me for the simple fact I'd brought all this attention to Barrington's. I was interfering with their financial relationship with Clubs New South Wales. Clubs New South Wales were obviously not going to do anything about it. I had reported it to ICAC and also to, as I said, to ASIC. They weren't going to do anything about it. So, I thought about it for a while, but bearing in mind I've already had these discussions on record with regulators prior to blowing the whistle. Clubs New South Wales had no whistleblowing policies in place at the time. So, knowing the industry, I've been there 8 years, I put a call in Andrew Wilkie's office in Tasmania, knowing I could trust him. So I actually sent an email saying, I'm very concerned about the industry. I am a whistleblower. I want to talk to you. So that email went to, I sent that email to Andrew Wilkie's office in, I think about 8 weeks after I'd resigned from Clubs New South Wales. I thought about it, and then made the decision that I couldn't let it go. So I reached out to Andrew's office in Tasmania, and sometime after that I opened a dialogue up with his staff, and it led to me handing an internal document to Andrew Wilkie, which was authored by Jim Terry, the Club Safe manager, and Anne Fitzgerald, the Club Safe executive manager, outlining some of the issues around with AML, CTF and compliance in clubland at the time, and specifically, it went right down to the points of only 5 to 10% of clubs at best are complying with AML legislation in the club industry, and that's quite alarming. 1,150 clubs. I think there's 750 reporting entities, somewhere around that are required to report to AUSTRAC because they've got 16 machines or more. But yeah, look, it's a little bit more complicated than actually that. But yeah, the levels I'd also witnessed of and low levels of compliance. I think Jim Terry and Anne Fitzgerald's estimation of 5 to 10% was probably a little bit high, in my view. I think you'd find a bit lower than that. I think they're being generous. And yeah, once I gave this very damning internal report signed off by Clubs New South Wales, presented to the board were well aware of this. They swept it under the carpet. They had a board meeting in May 19 or just after June, July. I'm not sure exactly, just after, and that paper was tabled. And Anthony Ball, the CEO at the time, made a decision that, she'll be right, mate. Barringtons are a bunch of good blokes. We've had a relationship with them for 20 years. We'll just keep ticking on as we are. Taking into account that Barringtons were paying gold tier membership to Clubs New South Wales, which I think was $75,000 a year at time, to be, rolled out and showcased around the industry as a vetted. The members thought that was giving them guarantee that Barringtons was a vetted and authentic company to do business with.
So you gave, a document to an elected representative outlining essentially, Clubs New South Wales' own allegations of criminal activity happening in their club.
Correct.
In their venues.
Correct.
And so how did Clubs New South Wales retaliate to that action?
They didn't take too kindly to that. First, I can say I wasn't the author of that document. It was the two executive manager and the manager. Secondly, I had no involvement in any of that collation of that report, giving that further details and information, even though at the time I was the only one in the club industry who had applied diploma in AML-CTF through the International Compliance Association, which Clubs New South Wales paid for me to do, which took me 2 years to do. So I had that qualification, yet they chose to do that piece of work without me. So mind-boggling, but that's how it runs in there. They run their own race, and if they tell you in a staff meeting that the white is wall and it's black, you've got to say that wall is white. Otherwise, there's trouble. So, they didn't take too kindly to that. It hit the media, and Andrew read that in the Parliament. For memory, it was Valentine's Day 2020, and Clubs New South Wales retaliated with a breach of confidentiality claim filed against me in the federal court for giving that document to Andrew Wilkie.
That is quite astounding. So Clubs New South Wales are suing you for essentially reporting crimes to a democratically elected politician.
Correct.
And
they believe that the confidentiality document I signed as part of an employment contract in 2017 overrides the provisions of an ex-employee or an employee reporting on criminal activity.
Wow. So essentially, how far does this extend? Does it extend to you going to the police? Surely an elected representative is almost higher in a degree because there's parliamentary privilege on communications.
This matter's been going on, believe it or not, since April 2020 with them suing me. And here we are, 2.5 years on, they haven't even filed a claim, but they keep filing all these interlocutory applications. So I've had about 3 of those, I think, filed against me, and obviously that's to rattle me for going to Andrew Wilkie and trying to use the court system to run me out of money. That's the only logical thing I can think of is why they are doing that. And I can't believe the court system is of such nature that they're allowed to do that.
How much does it cost you?
To date, I had to sell my house on the Central Coast, and I've relocated to the Upper Hunter. Out of my own pocket, I've spent Fighting Clubs New South Wales $750,000.
So they've instantly cost you $750,000 because you reported crimes to a democratically elected politician.
Correct. And the crimes that they were reaping the rewards of at the time, I reported this.
As mentioned earlier, just wasting hundreds of thousands of Troy's dollars by suing him wasn't enough for clubs. They went out of their way to muzzle him as well.
From what I understand, Clubs New South Wales have also taken some quite remarkable steps in preventing you from talking to the media or telling anyone about what's happening to you. Correct.
They've gagged me, and they're aware I've got the incriminating information on my laptop, and I'm officially breaking my gag order today. And I'm happy to go on record with you because of my recent diagnosis of cancer.
So they gagged you. I'll get the timeline right. So they gagged you in the federal court. What did they argue when they gagged you?
They argued that my behaviour on social media, essentially, if they could deny me some freedom of speech, if they could succeed in that, they'd succeed in shutting me down. But they didn't want me making any comments about this case or about clubs or about anything to do with clubs individually, collectively, on my social media platforms.
And this is because it might put undue pressure on Clubs New South Wales in order to discontinue proceedings.
That's their view, that my whole and sole tactic was to cause them undue pressure and make them settle.
And this is Clubs New South Wales, the industry that makes $1 billion from pokies a year that deals in organised crime. That's worried about you, a single whistleblower, putting undue pressure on them.
Correct. It is unbelievable. They've even taken legal action against my wife for aiding and abetting me. It's just extraordinary the extent of the steps and measures they've gone to silence me, and the amount of members' money they have spent through their lawyers to fight both of these court cases. We're talking millions of dollars. Do the members know that Clubs New South Wales is spending their money?
And so they've just pushed it on for years. They've put a gag order on you. They've cost you $750,000, and it's still going on. And I understand it's had. You believe you've now gotten incredibly sick.
Look, any whistleblower that comes forward will tell you the toll it takes on your health, your mental health. I've been struggling with my mental health for 3.5 years, the last 2.5 years, plus very solidly. Various medication for that, but the stress on my family, on my health has been, unbelievable. Finally, about 3 years, I've been separated from my wife. We're on the I guess a good side of repairing some of that damage until recently, where I've been diagnosed with non-operable esophagus cancer with secondary bone cancer. So at the moment, my diagnosis is those 2 tumours are the worst. I actually have 5 tumours, and I'm about to undergo intensive radiation and chemo. But the prognosis is, depending on the treatment I get, I could have. I've been told, recently, weeks or months. Without treatment, it'd probably be the best I could hope for. With treatment, I might be lucky, and certain treatment, I'm just waiting to hear back whether I qualify for the immunotherapy program. It's not currently PBS, and it's got very good success rates, and on average is providing 14 months longer for patients. I'd love to go on that one, but as a result of the court case too, I can't afford that treatment. So I may not be, unless I get that treatment through the New South Wales Health and my doctors, I won't be getting it because I've simply spent everything on the court case. So hopefully Clubs New South Wales are happy with with that outcome.
Do you believe that the case brought against you by Clubs New South Wales played a role in you developing cancer?
Look, not being a medical expert, and I'm thinking now and talking like a representative of Clubs New South Wales, I can't prove that link or correlation, but I haven't been sick. There's no history in my direct family of cancer, and it's all happened within the last 2.5 year period. So I've got no doubt in my mind that the stress I've been under as a result of all this is the contributing factor to the cancer.
And at the very least, you're $750,000 poorer.
Absolutely. To tell your family you've got to pack up, sell a house and move to a rural country town, which is a beautiful town where we've gone to, and I don't regret that. But to upheave kids and my wife, and also to, there was, at the time, there was just the pressure and the financial pressure. We just had no choice. So it was immense. We, virtually had to take what we could get at the time to sell a house. I wouldn't call it a fire sale, but we couldn't hang on any longer on the Central Coast. So unfortunately, we had to make that hard decision.
Why do you think Clubs New South Wales are doing this if they haven't even filed a statement of claim? What is their goal?
Their goal is to put the message out, you don't mess with us. We're untouchable. We own government. We tell government what to do. Look, recently Victor Dominello was making good headway and some decent, smart decisions around reform in gambling and money laundering, and he was removed by his portfolio. Is that a coincidence, or is that through the the interference of Clubs New South Wales? And knowing how they operate, their political donation, I've got no doubt that they've pulled some. Josh Landis has pulled some big strings to make sure Victor Dominello was deseated. So
they really ruthlessly go after anyone that poses a threat to their, business.
Absolutely. Tim Costello's another good one, the Alliance. They've gone after him in the past. Stephen Mayne. They've sued Andrew Wilkie, a couple of times as well. They sued ABC News over the Peter Garrett cash or check-in envelope allegations. They are ruthless, but they won't intimidate me.
Do they now know that you've got cancer?
Yes, they do. The workers' compensation doctors. I'm currently on workers' compensation for Clubs New South Wales. I've been on workers' compensation for 2.5 years. So their insurance companies accepted the claim and has been paying me, while Clubs New South Wales is running around telling its members and everyone I wasn't subject to any bullying and harassment in the workplace, yet I'm on their payroll. So you work that out. They will do whatever they can to cover up the truth. That's how they operate. And if they can destroy me, first my credibility, my bank account and my health, that's how they win, because no one will continue to stand up to their bullying.
Has the cancer made them reconsider, made them go, maybe this isn't worth it, maybe this is just getting cruel and vindictive and, we're making billions. We don't need to go after one whistleblower? Look,
quite to the contrary. They actually yesterday we had a directions hearing in one of the matters, the one I brought against them for bullying, harassment, defamation, underpayment of wages. They've now, yesterday at the last minute, put on another interlocutory application in those proceedings. That's the first interlocutory application they put on in those proceedings, but they are well aware that not only my diagnosis, but my prognosis is I may, at this point in time, only have weeks to months left, and they've now brought on another court case in July just to cause me grief.
Just to wear you down.
Just to wear me down.
And to wait it out.
Yep. They are hopeful. Simple as this. I run out of money. I run out of steam and health, or I die, preferably the latter.
It's just shocking. And how do you think these people rationalise it in their head when they do this to someone? Like, surely they know their own report that they wrote says that 95% of their venues aren't compliant with anti-money laundering laws. You tell that to a parliamentarian, and now they know that you did the right thing, and they're trying to...
They are delirious in their own little world. They're right and everyone else is wrong. It is astounding. It is the organisation, and I'll go back to the staff meetings. You would have Anthony Ball up there, talking to the staff, and it was like being at in a cult.
That is the level of ruthlessness harboured by the leadership of Clubs New South Wales. It's a level of ruthlessness only enabled by a sense of impunity, which has been endowed upon them by their political connections, and let's be honest, ability to buy government.
Can you tell us about Clubs New South Wales, their political strategy and their political connections?
Look, I throw my hand up. I did a stint, 7 years. I was in the Liberal Party before I got sick of the internal fighting and the backstabbing. But it's quite funny. You've got various executive managers and other people within the policy team at Clubs New South Wales that have a very, very strong relationship with both political parties. Obviously not the Greens, but Liberal and Labor. Some very, very close relationships where there'll be the sharing of staff. One example, the policy officer when I was there back in 15 or 16, Olivia Graham, she ended up leaving Clubs New South Wales and going to work for John Barilaro, one of his senior staff members. Jim Terry, before he became the Club Safe manager in November 18, he was the Chief of Staff to David Elliott, the New South Wales Transport Minister, who is very close to Anthony Ball, the former CEO of Clubs New South Wales. Anthony Ball was mentioned in David Elliott's maiden speech in 2011.
Do politicians try and get jobs at Clubs New South Wales maybe after politics?
Look, it's quite funny you mentioned that. I recall one, either an annual conference or a Clubs and Community, and I was involved in a conversation with the Transport Minister for New South Wales, David Elliott, and a couple of other colleagues who were Liberal Party members at the time. And David was very open and upfront about life after politics. He thought it'd be very good, and he would be very interested in becoming the chairman of Clubs New South Wales post-politics. It's got a nice $100,000 little, payment and a car and a parking spot in Druitt Street. So not a bad little gig, when you've got your parliamentary pension to top it up. So all those discussions are in play all the time along the way.
Do you think that ambition of certain politicians affects how they act towards Clubs New South Wales in office?
Oh, absolutely. If Anthony Albanese is going to be true to his word and, the significant reform needed around a national ICAC or a National Integrity Commission, that was a key policy piece for the voters apart from climate change. So surely these politicians will wake up eventually and realise, is it worthwhile taking contributions or donations from organisations like Clubs New South Wales and the AHA, which are really only like Big Mac meal type investments? You're talking low levels of money. And, I'm not saying it is pro quid pro, but it seems rather a conflict when you've got, for example, a National Party in New South Wales being a significant recipient of Clubs New South Wales money, and John Barilaro at the time being the National Party leader in New South Wales and the Deputy Premier during COVID, who had the most access to Clubs New South Wales around policy issues at the time. Is that just convenient, accidents? Is it deliberate?
Do you think these donations and alleged career ambitions played a role in killing the cashless gambling card?
Oh, look, without a doubt, those favours, and Josh Landis has told me on more than one occasion, the government loves us. We own the government in his office, the policy office next to the meal room. So they are not scared of making those comments on record, off record.
Has he said that verbatim? Has he said, we own the government?
That's what he said in front of me and Anthony Tremaci, and there was others from the policy team near the kitchen at Clubs New South Wales on more than one occasion.
It's a remarkable thing to say. Do you think he's right when he says...
Well, I don't know if he's delusional or he's telling the truth, to be honest.
That's
a hard call.
It's scarier if he's not, isn't it?
It is scary, but they believe their own rhetoric, and they believe that they are the twin towers in terms of a building, and they can take as much damage to their building and they will not fall over. And I mean, look what happened to Peter Garrett's court case and over those allegations, and Victor Dominello being demoted, where I can tell you now as an AML CTF expert, bringing in the cashless card, bringing in a gambling ID card that's linked to your identity makes it a whole lot easier for not only the venue, the club, but also regulators. It is a no-brainer.
In fact, Troy decided to take us to a local club in Newcastle to prove how easy it is to clean money through pokies, demonstrating the need for a cashless gambling card.
So I'm with Troy and we got $500 and Troy's going to teach us how to clean this $500.
Yeah, we're at West New Lambton on the sunny Newcastle surf side, and we're going to go in and hopefully they don't remember who I am. Let's go, guys.
Yeah,
Chris,
money.
They just insert the money into the machine. It'll should only take up to $5,000.
And Troy, it says ticket paying 11. Does that mean you have to play $11 worth? Or?
No, it'll give you, if you don't play, it'll give you, hit collect, it'll pay the ticket.
Collect. $500 cleaned, like in a matter of seconds.
That's how easy it is, guys. No one else in the room. Way you go, we just go down, either cash that or get a check if you like down at the cash box. Easy.
Are people meant to stop it? Are people meant to like come and check on us that we're not just putting in 500 and
no, look,
taking it out?
There's an expectation. Hopefully you'll lose, and that's what they're hoping. So today you're a winner. Winner, chicken dinner.
Winner. Didn't make the money from the pokies, made it from the drugs I was selling before.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about that.
It's no longer, what is it, Troy? No longer ice money.
No longer ice money. Now it's money that you won at the club.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Another happy punter. Well done.
Just like that. It's that easy. All Troy wanted to do was highlight the criminal activity Clubs New South Wales themselves suspected was taking place in their venues, and in return he got hit with a lawsuit that has cost him $750,000, forced him to sell his house, and he believes it was an exacerbating factor contributing to his terminal cancer. That is the power of one group. A group that pretends to be community spirited. It's not enough to get away with virtually no money laundering compliance, but they have to engage in a relentless and vicious campaign to destroy the lives of the people who attempt to hold them to account.
So this question is fairly like confronting and brutal. You know, you've got cancer and doctors haven't been particularly optimistic about it. If, you know, you go down, what do you want your legacy to be in this battle with clubs?
I want my legacy to be politicians to open their eyes and see we do have a problem with this industry. Some much needed reform. The industry is never going to disappear. we'll see over time some changes and poker machines will disappear, but we need some decent regulation and decent protection for our communities around money laundering, around organised crime, around drugs, and for our vulnerable people that have addictions. We need to make sure that they're protected too. And to say that it costs too much is absolutely ridiculous when these clubs are turning over tens and tens, if not hundreds of $1 million a year. It should be the cost of doing business. So I want to see some reform. We've got a very high situation with suicide in that sector as well. All these things need to be addressed. My eldest daughter's a primary school teacher. Surely it'd be nice that schools can move away from having to be able to provide a breakfast for kids, because the situation is they've come to school with no breakfast and no lunch. And we need to look at the cost of what these machines are doing health-wise to the society of people and put a actual dollar value on that. Have a look at what money the gaming machines are taking away from other sectors. If you're putting all your money through the poker machines, obviously you're not going to be able to spend money at restaurants, in retail, on holidays. How are those industries impacted by this industry? I mean, it's just got too big. It needs to be accountable. And I think time's right. We've got Albo in now, time for a change. I think hopefully the New South Wales Labor government gets in with Chris Minns next March, and they use some of this as election platform material. I'm not sure, but once again, there's some politicians in the Labor Party as well as the Liberal Party that are involved with the political donations. So
What would you say to those politicians?
think long and hard about you taking a little bit of money. In the scheme of things, it is Big Mac money. You're better off going and buying your own Big Mac meal, because what you will be sawed of, your soul will be sawed at some point later. Make no mistake about it. It'll be the Grim Reaper and Josh Landis collecting.
What would you say to Josh Landis?
Josh Landis, George Paponis, the Border Clubs New South Wales, the executive managers. I'm still here. I'm not going away. And I really look forward to seeing you in court. And let's get the truth out there and let's get it on sooner than later.